Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to show you how I took a raised bed garden and turned it into my winter greenhouse. Now this project did not go according to plan in many ways, and I will share the good, the bad, and the ugly with you in this video. So I hope you enjoy it. So we are in the garden. This is one of the raised beds that we built. And the raised beds did not come with this wire mesh on the bottom. I added this afterwards. The reason being we have a lot of mice and rabbits and things that will dig up through the bottom to get to our plants. And so I'm just trying to avoid that by putting down this hardware cloth. And because of the design of the corners here, you can see there are holes here that mice could sneak through to get on the inside. So what I'm doing is I am using that same hardware cloth and I am cutting off these corners, closing them off so that nothing can get in from the corners either. So in order to do that, I'm using the existing hardware that is holding the bed together, and I'm just using that to hold this hardware cloth on. So I'm gonna show you, well, we just do one row. I'll show you how we're doing that. All right, so just to show you how we're doing this, the outside has a Phillips head screw. My daughter's holding that still while I take off the wing nut on the inside. You wanna hop in here and get a picture from the inside? All right, so I'm taking these wing nuts off, and I'm just doing this one row at a time so that the corners don't fall apart while I'm doing this. All right, and now can you get this one, honey? Stick it in there. I did the first corner by myself, but it took way longer than it needed to, and it was really, really difficult to have one arm on the outside, one arm on the inside trying to do this. It's just way easier with two people. So I thank my daughters very much for helping out. So zoom in here, Kate. So now what I'm gonna do is press this hardware cloth, and I'll need you to hold that screw really tightly there. I'm gonna press it in until I can get the screw through one of these squares, which is kind of difficult, but it'll be worth it. All right, Hyde, can you turn your screwdriver clockwise, please? Turn it clockwise a few times. Keep going. So what she's actually doing is, now that I've caught the end of it, she's screwing it in a little bit farther, and this size works perfectly for the size of screws that came with this thing. So hold it there, and I'm going to get this wing nut back on. You can see why this is way easier with two people. This was definitely not a one-person job when I was doing it before. All right, so now I'm just gonna tighten this down as far as it'll go. All right, and that's that. Once we finished building the beds and mouse-proofing them, it was time to fill them. So we started with a layer of sticks on the bottom, followed by a layer of grass clippings. Then we put a thick layer of leaves on top of that. And we have a chicken manure pile over by the barn, so I grabbed some of the chicken manure, threw that on top of the leaves, and then I went up and got my compost bucket and emptied out the food waste on top of that. And then we came back with another layer of grass clippings on top of that, followed by another thick layer of leaves on top of the grass clippings. And then my husband brought us 3 tractor loads full of dirt from the top of the hill. So we put that dirt on top. And last but not least, I just took a little bit of store-bought organic garden soil just to add some extra nutrients to the soil. So that is how we filled our bed. So this is the first raised bed that we got put in. We just spent the day yesterday getting it all filled up. But one thing I really want to do with this is put some posts up around it, and that way we can put a greenhouse cover over top of it. And I'm gonna see if I can grow some stuff in the winter with it, just the cold weather crops like lettuce or spinach, things like that. So this is how I'm planning to do the posts. Here I'm using a fence post pounder to pound some T-posts into the ground. I now have all of the posts hammered into the ground. So now I'm ready to start cutting the PVC pipe to fit over top. So I want to make these PVC pipes. These are 10-foot long pipes that are 2 inches in diameter. The reason I got the 10-foot pipes and I'm gonna cut them is because it's way cheaper. It's like half the price to get the 10-foot pipes and cut them yourself rather than getting the pre-cut pipes. So I'm gonna measure out 5 feet. I'm just gonna cut 5 of these in half. All right, so that's 5 feet there. Oh, I found a couple rocks to shove in here and hold this in place so it doesn't roll downhill. But I'm holding this up above the ground so I can cut straight through it without getting the saw stuck in the ground. Still doesn't want to hold still. Time! Almost. There we go. Doesn't make the cleanest cut, but it gets the job done. I'll show you what I'm doing with these, because you don't need to watch me cut all of them. Come over here. So these are going to slide over top of the T-posts, and the T-posts are in here to hold them because it does get really windy, so that's there to secure them so they don't blow away. And I'm going to connect a peaked roof. I have some connecting joints that I got, so we're gonna make a peaked roof in the middle, and I'll show you that part when we get to it. So we finished cutting the posts in half that we need. You want to show them what we did over there? These are covering the T-posts. And the rough edge where I cut is a little rough, and I figured it could use some sanding, but since I happen to be standing next to a concrete block, I'm doing it this way. That's good enough for me. If you want to use sandpaper, be my guest, but this works just fine. See, look at that, beautiful. Nice and smooth. So the way we're gonna connect these is I bought some 45-degree PVC connectors that will slide on the top. And then I bought 90-degree angles with the extended length on the top to go on the top. The reason I did the extended length was just so it wasn't as sharp of a point, because I'm gonna have greenhouse fabric on top of this and I don't want anything ripping it. So we're gonna take another post, go from the 45 up to the 90, another one from the 90 down to the 45, and then down to the ground. So what I'm gonna do with these is, for extra security, I'm going to drill a hole straight through here, and I bought galvanized bolts. So these are galvanized bolts, and these are 3 inches long, just to make sure they'd go all the way through. Because I feel it is just as important, if not more important, to share my failures and in addition to my successes, let me show you what's been happening. So I've been trying to drill a hole through both the pipe itself and the connector piece straight through to the other side, which is held on with a little nut there. And You can probably tell on this one it's very crooked. And you'll see from all the extra holes, I was having a lot of trouble trying to line it up, and I think I finally figured out what was going wrong with a lot of these. Was I was using these concrete blocks to hold it steady, and when I was drilling I had the pipe sitting like this. Well, the opening of the pipe is wider than the middle, and so when I set it down, it was pushing it at an angle as I pushed down with the drill. On this one, I decided to try doing it this way, where it was completely flat and just going straight through. And this is the first one that it actually worked the way it was supposed to on the first try. And I wanted to share that with you. So if you're doing this, make sure that this is completely flat and you don't have this sitting on the ground, because it will tilt the it'll tilt the angle of how it's connected, and then you will have a mess on your hands. At this point, we did a little math, used a little Pythagorean theorem to figure out a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to figure out how long to make the connector poles that are going up to the peak of the roof. And so I marked them. Don't even know if you can tell because it's super dirty, but yeah, so we made marks. I have given up on the Sawzall for this project. It was not working, and that was a big part of the reason why I kept missing when I was trying to drill the holes through the pipe and the connector, because the Sawzall does not make a clean, straight cut. It kept cutting crooked, and I was getting diagonal parts, and so I'd catch it on one side and miss it on the other side, and that was just a mess. So I'm done with the Sawzall. I'm gonna wait until my husband gets home from work, and I'm gonna have him just use his saw to get nice precise cuts for the rest of this project. Quick note about the bolts and the nuts. These are galvanized, so that means they are a lot more weather resistant. Even though this PVC pipe is most often going to be covered with greenhouse fabric, it will still be moist inside the greenhouse from the greenhouse effect that's going to keep the moisture in there. So you want to make sure that you have galvanized bolts and nuts for the hardware for this project. It's a new day once again, and my husband has made all the rest of the cuts for me with the PVC pipe with a much better saw for the job than a Sawzall. So these are now cut to length, and the next step is getting the 90-degree elbows connected to my cut PVC here. So I'm gonna do the same thing I did before, where I'm drilling a hole through here and then putting a bolt with a nut on the other side. Once I get all of these roof peaks put together, I'm going to attempt to put them up on top of here and do the same thing to these, where once I stick it in, I will drill a hole through there and put a nut and a bolt there. Confession time, guys. I screwed up with these measurements. When we measured for how wide we needed to go, I measured from the bottom of the posts. I measured on center from one to the other. I did not think about the fact that these posts did not go in completely level, and they lean out at the top, a lot of them. So the trusses that I just built are too short to reach the sides of the post. We're too far along here to, yeah, just ignore the wind knocking that over. Too far along to start over. So I think I have a fix for this. I just kind of eyeballed it and held the trusses up, and I think this will work. But I think I'm gonna cut these posts down to the height of the T-post, and down here they're closer together than they are at the top. So I just held it up. I think it's gonna work. It's kind of my only option at this point. So pray for me, and I hope that this works. All right, here goes. The first truss is up. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. I am so glad that worked. I hope it works on the other ones too. But this is homesteading, guys. I mean, you run into problems and you just have to figure out how to fix them. That is the way life goes. It is done. The frame is up. We managed to wedge those trusses into the side poles. Thank you, God. It is now secure. Might be a little bit wonky in some places, but hey, I don't care. Good enough is good enough for me. So now it is time to put the greenhouse fabric over top of it. This is the greenhouse fabric that I have from a previous greenhouse, which was before we got that nice one up there. We had that built by the Amish and it is amazing. And you're asking me, well, then why are you putting greenhouse fabric over your raised bed? Well, because I want to try to grow winter vegetables in there. And from using this plastic before, I know that it really retains heat super, super well. In combination with the dark metal sides of the bed, I think I can probably grow cold weather crops all through the winter. So I'm hoping that's the case. The greenhouse I have up there, the design of it, there's a lot of area where wind can get in. So, because it's corrugated plastic, so there are just like grooves all along the roof line where wind can get in, so it doesn't stay as warm in the winter. It is great for starting seeds in the spring. I do have a little natural gas heater in there, so as long as I keep the seed trays close to the heater and I have a heating mat underneath them, and then I keep a plastic cover over top of them, then they usually stay warm enough to survive. I did have, like, my marigolds all died last year because we had a really cold snap after I planted the seeds. It got down in the teens and my seeds did not like that, so, or seedlings at the time did not like that. So again, that's not a winter greenhouse. That's a get a head start on your seeds in the spring greenhouse. This one I'm hoping I can actually grow vegetables through the winter, so that's why I'm doing that. But anyways, so I'm going to use this greenhouse fabric, which I saved from the old greenhouse. And I bought this grommet kit from Home Depot. It basically, you use it to punch holes in your fabric and then you can put grommets in so that I can tie this greenhouse fabric to the PVC pipe once that's all up. And I'm going to tie it with this baling twine that I have here. This is meant for the outdoors. We've used it in the duck pen before to keep the hawks out. We put it across the top of the duck pen. But I'm gonna probably do like 3 thicknesses at least of that, because that's pretty thin. So I'm gonna triple it up and then tie it all onto the PVC pipe, or at least that's the plan. But you know how things go. We'll see. Right now I'm going to water the bed again so I keep my seeds moist, and then I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to work these grommets. All right, so I have gone, this greenhouse fabric actually came with some grommets already in it, but I wanted to make more just so I had more places to secure it, because we get really, really strong winds where we live. So I went ahead and cut the holes already, but in order to do that, all you do is you take this little cutter, just put the little block of wood underneath it, and you place it there. Just use a hammer to press out the hole there. So that's how I did that. And it took a lot of figuring out and watching other people's YouTube videos to figure out how to use this grommet kit, because it did not come with instructions. But we finally did figure it out. So you are gonna take this part with the sticky uppy thing, that's the technical term in case you're wondering, sticky uppy thing. Put that onto your little platform here. You slide the hole through there, and you're gonna take the flat side of your grommet and place that on top. So now we're going to take this little guy with the nub, stick it on there, and we're gonna hammer it until the walls of this little rim press out to the side, and that's what holds this grommet on. So we're gonna hammer the mess out of it. It's gonna be loud, hold your ears, here we go. Looks pretty good, but I'm gonna go a tiny bit more just to make sure it's really secure. there's our grommet. So now I just have to do this like another 50 times. So just to show you how we're attaching this, I ended up adding some extra grommets like I showed you, and I'm putting 2 grommets across from each other so that I can wrap this fabric all the way around the PVC and line up the grommets, and then I can put my nylon twine through there, and that way I can tie this securely to the post. And I'm gonna at least triple knot this. Right now I'm just using 1 thickness of this twine just to get it up in a hurry because it's gonna get really cold tonight and I wanna make sure we have time to get done. But I will come back and put a few more pieces of twine in there just to make it extra secure. So that's how we're attaching it. I bought these stainless steel clips to help secure the fabric to the top of the raised bed, and I like these a lot because they are rounded on the tip. Sorry, I can't really focus on where I want it to focus. Focus! Yeah, well, the camera's not going to focus, but anyway, they have like rounded edges on the inside, so they're less likely to rip the fabric. So I'm just giving the fabric a little slack, and it's hard to do one-handed, clipping it to the bed, and then at the bottom I am putting big heavy concrete blocks on the bottom to help with the wind. Dun, 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 dun. It is finally finished. It may not be the most beautiful looking thing, but hopefully it will be effective. We got greenhouse plastic covering the front and the back, and then we put a 3rd piece over top and overlapped it so that the water would run off on the sides. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I've been hauling concrete blocks. Speaking of concrete blocks, everywhere that the fabric was touching the ground, I did put concrete blocks just to help keep it in place with the wind. It does get very windy here, and anywhere that there was enough slack in the greenhouse fabric, I also added these clips. Probably add a few more there, but those are on the back of it here, and a couple more concrete blocks over there, a couple more in the front, and more clips on the front here. Now there is a section, if I lift this up, I'd have to just take the clips off the front, but if I lift this up, there's a zipper. I can open this up, and that way I can get in there to water and weed and harvest, do whatever I need to do without untying everything. So I just used my baler's twine there to tie everything off. It's not as secure as I had hoped to be able to get it, but right now I'm running super late. I need to run inside, make dinner. We have activities tonight, so I have to get back inside. But hopefully that will hold until I can make it a little bit better at some point. And again, not beautiful, but if it grows me food in the winter, I don't care what it looks like. I am function over fashion every day. All right, that's it for the greenhouse. If you'd like to follow along with the progress and see how it's working out this winter, then make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.